Hey, sixth graders, how are you? Today I wanted to talk you through how to create your graphic organizer. Today we're simply going to be looking at these subheading sections. Some of you might have two subheadings that you're looking at. Some of you might have three. Some of you might even have more. Earlier this week, regardless if you were an A student or a B student, we worked on some kind of a hook together where you either used a fact or a quote or a story that you found in the article that really kind of brought it in for your reader. We also talked about your claim and how you looked at that overall topic, whether it was sports and media, whether it was animals and pet adoption, whether it was mental health and well-being, or whether it was school. And you looked at the areas and created some kind of a claim. So for me, I modeled it with the restaurant. And I said the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the restaurant business in the areas of safety precautions, dining options, and menu offerings. So again, like I said, today we're going to take a look at these subheadings. What I did is I pulled out my three focus areas and I made each of those a subheading that I'm going to use when I actually go to write my piece next week. So I'm going to revisit my article a little bit here to see if I can find out some supporting details for safety precautions. So going back into my article, we talked about how hand sanitizer, signage was one of the safety pieces. We talked about how masks were one of the safety protocols that restaurants are utilizing. And then we talked about dining rooms getting some kind of a makeover in terms of social distancing. Some restaurants are utilizing stuffed animals or placeholders or something like that as a safety protocol as well. And the other one that we talked about is how restaurant employees are going to have less interaction with their customers as part of a safety protocol. So there's quite a few ways that restaurants are impacted by COVID in the area of safety precautions. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with less interaction with staff as one of mine. And down here, I'm going to go ahead and whatever article this is, you might want to simply just note what article it is so you are able to refer back to that. I'm going to call it subheading, less interaction with staff, just so I know where to go later on. So the source here is going to be you'll less interaction with staff. So that was my source. For you, your source might be a newsletter article. It might be one of the articles that we printed for you. So that's kind of my source. And as I look at this, I want to really pull out what I feel is an important piece of information that I'm going to include in my article. So as I look at it, in addition to those texted or digital menus to reduce touch points, sit-down restaurants might utilize more tabletop ordering and payment kiosks to limit interaction with staff. They may no longer be pointing out every garnish on the plate or asking you about your family, reducing chit chat. I'm going to put here, I think, more tabletop ordering and payment kiosks, more tabletop ordering payment kiosks to reduce risk. And I also might put less chit chat with customers to reduce time exposed. I think I'm just going to keep that for my safety precautions detail. So another detail of how COVID has impacted restaurants in the area of safety, besides less interaction with staff. So as I flip through here, pardon me as I go through, there's lots of advertisements in this article for some reason. Sorry about that, guys. It's chock full of ads. I might go to hand sanitizer and signage. So it looks like hand sanitizer and signage is super important because it looks like they're hoping to gain customers' trust. They can print and post signs about things like tables in use, sanitized tables, and hand washing reminders. So my supporting detail here is going to come from the source area of hand sanitizer I'm going to grab this as my source. You'll see lots of hand sanitizer and signs about safety. And I'm just going to do dot, dot, dot simply because I want to make this as quick as I possibly can for you. Fix that typo. All right, and it looks like there will be signs. Let's see. Not bold. I'm going to reduce my font a little bit. Signs for tables in use. Hand washing reminders. And hope to gain customer trust. And I'm going to just kind of move this up a little bit so that it kind of fits a little bit better in my box. Okay, you can certainly do that if you feel the need to kind of have a little more spacing in here. So really, when I look at safety precautions, the two details that I'm going to use to support this subheading is you'll have less interaction with staff. Might make that be unbolded too. You'll have less interaction with staff, and they talked about what I'm going to talk about in my article is more tabletop ordering, payment chaos, less chit chat to reduce time with customers. Time exposed to the virus is certainly shortened. And the other detail I'm going to use is all about the hand sanitizer and the signage, signs for tables in use, hand washing reminders, and they're hoping to gain customers' trust. And I think that will be good to support that subheading. So my second subheading was all about dining options. And we talked about how to go and carry out was a different dining option. And we talked about how outdoor dining would be another way to support that subheading of dining options. So I'm going to focus today on the category of to go. So over here, I'm going to put my detail. It came from to go is here to stay. And again, this is just my draft, so I'm not super worried if it's not perfect. And in that section, it talked about how curbside traditional takeout and delivery will be sticking around. It talked about how even before the pandemic, delivery and to go were super important, but now it's even more so important. So I'm going to simply say options like curbside, takeout, and delivery are more prominent and provide options for customers. And of course, I'll expand on that when I go to write my piece. And then I'm also going to talk about the outdoor dining as being another way that dining options have changed. And this talks all about how outdoor dining is really going to be something that's going to be much more prevalent in the future. And if you recall, they talked about how they might knock down parking lots and streets and loading zones to provide additional seating to be outside. So I think I'm going to call this one outdoor dining. Here to stay. And again, please remember that this is simply your organizer. And this one is going to talk about how it slows the risk of virus. You do not need to use complete sentences for your organizer. This is really just you taking the articles and putting it into a graphic organizer. So next week, we can begin writing your actual paragraphs. So I talked about slowing the risk of the virus, knocking down parking lots, loading areas, provide more seating. And of course, whatever your third subheading in is what you're going to, is whatever your third subheading is where you're going to want to focus for this next one. So really today, you're simply working on this subheading section. If you haven't finished your hook and claim, that is definitely something you're going to want to take a look at. But today's focus is really on subheading and how these kind of will help support you as you go to do your writing piece next week. You want to take your subheadings directly from your areas here, cite your source so that you are able to go back and find that information, and then just create a few bullet points for each of these. So, what are you saying is supporting your first subheading? What are you saying is a detail that would support your second subheading? And what are you saying is a detail that would support that third subheading? Good luck today creating all of your graphic organizer parts to the subheading portion. Bye, guys.